Thomas Schnauz is the director and writer of Better Call Saul, or one of them at least. And you're an
Hey,
yeah, so it's all you. You've won Emmys for producing Breaking Bad. You're nominated this year in the writing category. Tom, I want to start off by asking you. I'm Matt Noah from Gold Derby. What is the energy like in the Breaking Bad writers' room?
Breaking Bad writers' room or Saul?
Saul. Let's go with Saul.
Right now, the energy in the Saul room is a little hard to keep up because we're doing the Zoom room because of all the COVID precautions. So it's very hard to be staring at a monitor all day long with your fellow writers trying to break season 6. So the energy's a little low right now. We're all very excited about the nominations, of course, which is great. But trying to get through season 6, it's a little bit of a harder haul than normal. It's just, there's a different dynamic in the writers' room when we're all together and able to pitch. Now we're over Zoom. We're forced to raise hands when we want to speak, and it just it's a little stranger, but we're dealing with it.
What was the biggest challenge in season 5?
Season 5, I mean, there were a lot of challenges, but the biggest one was probably starting to weave these separate storylines together, because we've been really going on separate tracks for most of the seasons, where you have Mike's storyline and the cartel storyline and Jimmy and Kim's storyline. And this is the season where they really crossed over. I want to say it was difficult, but it really was energizing to us to finally get Lalo confronting Jimmy and then ultimately Kim. So that was great for us, but it was a bit of a challenge, just making it make sense. And with this series overall, the biggest challenge is trying to make it connect to Breaking Bad and make sure that all these story points will make sense for people who know Breaking Bad, that they'll all fall into place and not be confusing. Like, how can that happen? Wait a minute, Breaking Bad, this different thing exists. So we're making these puzzle pieces fit together is a big challenge.
Now, someone once wrote that sometimes our choices seem small, but they can put you on a road. What do you think is a small choice that has been made on Better Call Saul that has made put you guys on a particular road?
Well, if you're talking about character choices or you're talking about writer, I mean, it's all the same. I guess.
Any choice that's been made in the course of the series.
Maybe one of the smallest choices that was made by Jimmy was to, I just remember because it was one of my episodes where Jimmy decides to sabotage Chuck with the insurance agent, which ultimately started the dominoes falling and led to his suicide at the end of season 3. So that is a example of a really small choice that Jimmy was just doing it because this is my brother and he's an asshole and I'm going to screw with him. So I'm going to send this person off to look into his mental health, which really started the downward spiral of Chuck McGill and having Howard dismiss him from HHM, which led to him he was on a track to get better. His mental health was better. He was dealing with his condition. And then once it all fell apart, he just gave up and said, I can't climb this mountain anymore. So that's an example of a small choice that leads to bigger consequences.
You are nominated for writing the episode Bad Choice Road this year, where that particular line about small choices is part of that episode. What scene was the most fun or interesting for you to write?
I think the final act, which is one long scene with Jimmy and Kim discussing their choices. Kim's choice to quit Schweikert and Coakley and go off on her own and find happiness, because what she was doing was not making her happy. And that's really an important thing to do in your life, is to make decisions that make you happy and not be, if you can make changes, make them. So she's decided to leave this firm it wasn't that it was a bad firm, it was just that she wasn't satisfying. She wasn't really helping people the way she wanted to. So it started with that. got into an argument with Jimmy and Kim, and then led to Lala's arrival and the questioning of, tell me again what happened out there in the desert. So that was a very long, complex scene with different stages to it, and to me that was the most satisfying part of writing and directing the episode was when we rehearsed the scene and got it on its feet and showed it to the crew, and seeing the crew reactions. Just the rehearsal, I was like, oh, thank God this is probably going to work. because up until then, I mean, I have doubts all along the way, every step of the way, until it's finally done and made. And that was a satisfying moment to have the crew react the way they did when we watched it on stage.
In that scene, on a few moments, Kim falls within Mike's crosshairs. That, how cruel. As we're watching that as the audience, wondering if the trigger's going to pull. Where did that choice come in the writers' room or as director?
I think while we were breaking it, we really wanted, because Kim is not in Breaking Bad, I think there was a fear that something horrible is going to happen to her. And this just felt like all throughout this episode, there were little clues looking through a bullet hole, which matched to Lala looking through a bullet hole. There's, the Godfather uses oranges and we used it with Ted Beneke in Breaking Bad, that oranges, say something bad is going to happen. And we have the juicer scene with the oranges. These little clues for people who might have more knowledge with movies or not, not just little things throughout to say that something bad might happen to Kim. So when Lala walks through the door, and then when Mike has that sniper scope, that was, I needed Lala over by the fish tank so that when Kim confronted him, she was right in line with Mike's possible bullet. So yeah, we wanted to ratchet up people's anxiety about, oh my God, is this it for Kim? Is this where she goes down?
When you write and direct an episode, how much of the directing is in your mind when you're writing, and how much of the sort of writer is in your mind when you're directing?
A lot in each. When I'm writing an episode, I will have a notebook handy, and I'll be drawing little, sketches of possible shots to use. And we write a lot of shots into our scripts. Certainly the teaser montage with the split screen has to be very descriptive about what you're seeing in each shot. So a lot of all the writers in the writer's room are directing a little bit on the page, and we're not forcing our directors to do those shots, but we're making suggestions of what we would like to see. So yeah, as I'm writing, I'm sort of doing my storyboards, and when I'm directing, I'm also the writer on, whenever we have directors, we have writers on sets. Well, I just, have me trying to keep track of, does this make sense? Talking to the actors about what came before and where we're heading. So yeah, there's a lot of directing in our writing and writing in our directing.
Is it then weird when at the Emmys you get nominated for writing the episode but not nominated for directing the episode?
I'm just happy to be part of it in any shape or form. You never know. I'm very thankful that the writing members of the Academy singled my script out and Gordon's script out, and I have a good friend, John Shivan, who works on Ozark, and this is a lot of fun this year. I wish we could all be together going to the Emmys, because I have like two very good friends who are also nominated in the same category, which is nuts to me. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, would this ever happen to me? I'd be like, what are you talking about? There's no, me getting an Emmy nomination is crazy, but I'm very, very lucky. So, hey, directing would be great too, but I can't be that greedy.
Do you, what is, you said 20 years ago you couldn't imagine where you are now. What have you learnt as a writer and director in that 20 years?
In the writing process, it's really less about, what is going to make the audience excited? How are we going to thrill the studio heads, or what, working with Vince Gilligan, we really got to be in our own bubble, and the writers are the first audience. And as long as we're happy, hopefully that crosses over, and it has pretty pretty continuously crossed over to the audience reaction, as long as we make ourselves happy. So that's we first started writing out. It's like you look at, well, what's popular in the box office, or what's really exciting right now, and how how can I get on that bandwagon, and that you just have to let that go and just write things that excite you and make you happy.
What does make you happy about Saul, the show?
Yeah, I mean, with Breaking Bad and with Saul, it's really writing ourselves into corners and busting our heads up against the wall, trying to figure out how do we get these characters out of it. Because if it's not easy to figure out how to get your characters out of certain situations, then it will be surprising to the audience, because you have to put in a lot of work. And as long as it all is logical and makes sense, that surprise will, all that hard work will hopefully carry over to the audience, where like, oh, I did not see that coming. And that's really part of the thrill. If you can surprise an audience, and that was part of the fun of writing Bad Choice Road, was getting Lalo confronting Kim, and oh my God, how does Jimmy is at his weakest point ever. He's gone through the desert. He's about to crack and tell Lalo everything, and Kim steps up and saves his ass.
Was that the tightest corner you think you've been in this series, or is there another one?
That's a good question. It might have been. I think certainly Jimmy and Mike in the desert in the previous episode. That's probably it's been a long time dream of Peter Gould to get those characters out in the desert drinking urine. So we succeeded with that. But certainly in Bagman, that was one of the tightest corners. It's been, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Yeah. No, that's fun.
Once we disconnect from this interview, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to remember 5 different places that are probably good examples.
Well, I think the first episode you wrote for Breaking Bad was 1 minute. Is that correct? Yeah, which ends with one of the most tense scenes, and I feel like it was the most intense scene in that series up until that point. And I know the show then ratcheted it up from there. I'd say Bad Choice Road could be the tensest scene in the series up until this point, in terms of just edge of your seat, like what's going to happen? Is this character going to die? Why do they go to you to write these intense moments, Thomas?
I mean, I wish they were coming to me, because you're the guy for this job. But it really, our writing assignments get set up at the beginning of the year, and we have no idea what is going to happen in that episode. And it just, as we're breaking, they just have unfolded that way, that I got to write the episode where Hank is, the cousins come after him. That it was just, luck of the draw. And that was a scene, that was an idea that kept sort of moving from episode to episode, that, oh, the cousins are going to go after Hank. Well, that was like in episode 3 for a long time in Breaking Bad, and it just kept getting pushed because more and more plot kept happening. And as it turned out, that I got to write that confrontation, which has a lot in common with Hank in that episode, has a lot in common with Kim, with their little clues throughout, that there are the tropes of, oh, here's the guy turning in his gun and his badge, something bad's going to happen to him. Of course, you think Hank's going to die at the end of the episode, and luckily he survives.
Yeah, no, very much so. Thomas, what do you think is special about Better Call Saul? I
think what's special is that it's just nothing else like it on television. It's, a prequel that really dives into the psychological makeup of what was a comedic character on Breaking Bad. It's very unusual. I'm so glad that Vince and Peter decided to pitch this to the studio. And at the beginning, I don't think any of us knew what it was. It was discussed, is this a half an hour more comedic version of the show? And luckily we went away from that and really got into what makes this guy tick. How do you turn a Jim and McGill into a Saul Goodman? What are the steps along the way? And I don't think I've really seen something like that before in any prequels that I've seen on television.
Yeah, and I think this is bizarre because he was a comic relief character in Breaking Bad, and perhaps probably in such a dark series, a much needed character to break the tension and to undercut the intensity. What I've found interesting for me, at least, is that Saul seems 5 seasons in, I'm finding I'm empathizing more than him than I did with Walter White 5 seasons in.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy McGill, I mean, that's one of the interesting things to watch, is that Jimmy McGill is really an underdog and a fighter, and he's trying to make his life better. And as somebody watching the show, you're really rooting for that. And then he starts making decisions that are maybe not the best decisions. And, he should, you want him to stay on that moral road instead of going down the bad choice road. So you're just hoping, don't, we're hoping that everybody's like, Jimmy, don't do that. Don't go that way. And especially with Ray Seahorn as Kim Wexler, I mean, my God, what a find that has been. I mean, again, when we started out, we didn't know what we had in Ray Seahorn, what the character Kim meant, and it really has meant so much to the show. It's made it really special.
Because, yeah, you guys, from what I understand, it's not like season 1 you knew exactly where this series was heading, other than what had happened in Breaking Bad would have to, be where some of these characters ended up. What is that like as you approach the final season of the show, having sort of laid the foundation for 4 or 5 seasons, to then sort of think, how do we piece this all together?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest parts of this job, is really now we're in the end game, where yes, in previous seasons we've been limited by the world of Breaking Bad, but now we really have to connect up with Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad, and we're trying our best right now to do that and make sure it's satisfying for us and for the audience.
The Bad Choice Road episode, great episode, got nominated for the Emmy. What do you think is the most important thing that's in any Better Call Saul episode?
The most important thing in any Better Call Saul episode is certainly, I mean, it feels like the relationships between Jimmy and either Chuck McGill or Kim Wexler. And that really is the heart of the show. Seeing how these people relate to each other, what they mean to each other, how Jimmy's decisions to make either his brother or Kim happy lead him to making terrible choices when he should just let certain things go and let Kim stand or fail on her own instead of trying to manipulate things. It's really, he's taken a lot of steps intending to do good that have led him to horrible places.
What's the most fun thing that's happened while you've been working on Better Call Saul?
Oh boy, I mean, it just, the relationships with the writers. I mean, Peter Gould, it's just one of the great joys of my life that I got to work so closely with him. And really, I mean, this past season 5 has been just tremendous fun. Probably the most satisfying time of my professional life has been working on season 5 of Better Call Saul. Again, discovering how great an actor Bob Odenkirk could be, continuing to work with Jonathan Banks, who has been, I've been a fan of since he was on Wise Guy back in the 80s. And just there's so many fun things about working on this show that I've been just very lucky to have this experience.
Yeah. Final question, Thomas. Your episode's Bad Choice Road. What is the best choice that has been made in Better Call Saul? What's the good choice road?
The best choice, are you talking about myself or the characters?
That the series has made. That you guys who are writing the series and producing the series, what has been the best choice?
I think the best choice we made was to make Kim Wexler a larger character in the world of Jimmy McGill. If you watch season 1, she's in and out. We don't really understand as writers what the relationship is, but then we know that Jimmy's decision to be a lawyer was not just to please Chuck. It was really because he was following Kim's path. He wanted to be like Kim and be close to her and be in love with her. And so I think that was the best choice we could have made. That really opened up a lot of good roads for us as far as storytellers.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you. All the best for the Emmy Awards. I'm sorry you don't get to catch up with your friends on Emmy night, but hopefully you can do something together when this crazy world situation's all over.
It'd be great. Look, getting an Emmy nomination, that's just gravy on top of all this. This is all, I mean, lucky to work on the show, and then to have recognition from your peers is just really special and fantastic. So I'm humbled.
Yeah, and if you're watching this video, you can go to goldderby.com and make your own Emmy Awards predictions. You can predict Bad Choice Road for best writing in a drama series. And Better Calls. Yeah, what? Sorry?
I said do it.
Yeah, do it. Predict it. Yeah, and yeah, thanks so much.